one of the ideas that you have is in terms of a finely tuned universe. And, you know, we talk about gravity in terms of those things and other things being creating, particularly this planet, the perfect conditions for life.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder whether that's making meaning from the observations, like creating extra meaning.
Yeah, this is not something I've worked on myself, and my colleagues have, but it is true that if the parameters of the universe were significantly different, life of the kind that we know it probably wouldn't exist.
Right.
You need time for elements to form in the stars and basically provide the kind of chemical background that we need. And to get that time, you need some of the constants of the universe to be pretty much what they are, particularly the gravitational constant, the rate at which the universe is expanding. They're two different things. They can't be terribly different, or the universe would be too different. It'd still be a universe of some sort, but it wouldn't be the sort that the kind of life that we know could exist. But it may be quite a different kind of life would exist in quite different circumstances. But anyway, the way the universe matches the kind of life that has developed in it. But is that cause or is that effect?
Or could just some other version just have been another version, essentially?
Well, it could have been, but the consequences may be somewhat different. But that's okay. Right. So the consequence is different,
You've said that the concept of a multiverse is an unscientific construct, because I suppose sometimes the multiverse is, well, I don't know, is brought forward to explain away finely tuned universes?
Well, it's partly that. Our view, and I think we say a bit on this in the book, is that the multiverse concept is sort of there to step around the idea that there's some purpose in the universe. I think as a Christian scientist, I would say that there is some purpose in the universe, and that purpose is very much God-focused. And one way, the universe was basically created as a place where you could have the kind of life we have. On the other hand, a lot of people don't like that idea. The idea of purpose within science is, for some people, is really not acceptable.
It's sort of intelligent design.
Yeah.
Purpose is intelligent design by proxy, essentially.
Yeah. So, if you don't want to accept that, well, then one way out would be have a very large set of universes, and that one of them would be suitable for this kind of life, and you have no way of knowing what the other ones are. I have colleagues who work in this sort of area, and they're, for the most part, very caustic about the whole concept because of its unscientific, unprovable nature, that it's almost pseudoscience.
Well, you said that you need an atom smasher as large as the Milky Way to provide the gateway to potentially...
well, that's right. Or probably even worse, Yeah, so that's not one that I'm too keen on myself.
Well, I guess from the perspective of, say, the atheists, an atheist might just say, well, the reason that we see purpose is because we just happen to be here to see purpose.
Yeah.
It's one of those unsolvable things that goes around in circles.
Yeah, but to say that, you have to turn your back on revelation, which a lot of people are quite happy to do. I'm personally not. I take that very seriously. Yeah, so...
But that was my point before, and I may not have really got to the heart of it, but to some extent it's about, emotional and personal relationships. So it's not as though you're looking at your faith and looking at the Gospels and looking at it cold-eyed. You have an emotional connection to the story.
Yeah, for me, the sort of sequence would be that, do you believe in God? And if you do believe in God, then you would look to see what God has shown us about himself. And once you get into that, you're then in the whole revelation cycle. So it's really, for me, it's really the basic thing is the belief in God. And once you've got that, then I think, certainly how it is for me, then the rest of it would follow. Now, if you are convinced for whatever reason that God doesn't exist, then you would regard the whole revelation package as just airy-fairy fantasy stuff, but I'm not in that company personally.